In this video lecture, I am going to go through more examples that are relatively harder than the previous video lecture on the number of elements in a set. I'm going to go through with you relatively harder questions. I wouldn't say very hard, but compared to the previous example in the previous video lecture, this one is relatively harder but doable. So same thing, is the same Venn diagram, okay, same example. So over here, the question asks us to shade the set A prime, the complement of A. So we have done this before. So this is where we shade A prime. Okay, find the number of elements in the set A prime. So 1, 2, 3. So n set A prime equals to 3. Okay, list the elements of the set A prime. A prime equals to curly braces 1, 2, 3. Okay, so far so good. Now I want you to try this question yourself because it's quite similar to A prime, just that this time it is the set B prime. Okay, I want you to try this question yourself. Pause the video now, try this question yourself. Okay, let's move on to shade the set A prime union B. Okay, so basically for union, it is quite straightforward. So let's shade the set A prime first. Okay, let's shade the set A prime first. For union, you can do it like this. You can do it one by one. Let's shade the set A prime first. Okay, so I'm going to shade the set A prime first. Okay, now that I'm done shading the set A prime, okay, this is union, right? Next, I'm going to shade the set B. Now over here is already shaded for this portion of set B. I'm left with this portion of set B that I need to shade. So I'm done. So basically, find the number of elements in the set A prime union B. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 elements. So basically, n set A prime union B equals to 5. And list the elements of the set A prime union B. So basically, the set A prime union B equals to curly braces. List down the elements. Okay, they are 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Okay, so far so good. Let's move on. Now, for intersect, it is much harder, a bit tricky, and you have to be careful. Okay, so the question asks us to shade the set A intersect B prime. Okay, so I want you to follow me closely on this question, especially for intersection. Okay, because it requires a bit of imagination to tackle this question, but doable. So I'm going to shade the set A intersect B prime now. So I'm going to teach you how I'm going to tackle this question. Okay, so let me shade the set A first. Okay, let me shade the set A first. Now I am going to shade the set B prime. Okay, so basically I'm gonna just shade it in the other direction. I'm gonna shade the set B prime now. So everything outside B. So I'm shading it the other direction. You can see that my line, I draw it in the other direction. Okay? So, where do you think is the overlapped region. I think it is rather straightforward at this point. This region over here, okay, this region over here is the overlapped region. And see? So this region over here, let me try to shade it as much as possible. So this region over here, okay, this region over here is the overlapping region. Okay? So find the number of elements in set A intersect B prime. Only 1. So n set A intersect B prime equals to 1. And list the elements of the set A intersect B prime. So basically set A intersect B prime equals to curly braces 4. Because 4 is the only element. And we are done. So basically let me go back to this question again. Okay, back to what back to the tips that I wanted to tell you. So how you tackle questions involving shading, especially for intersection, is for one set, okay, for one set, you have a unique way of shading one set. So every set, when you try to shade every set, right, for each set you shade, have a unique way of shading it. So for example, for set A over here, okay, I shade it this way. Okay, you see the line is going towards the top right hand corner. For set B prime, okay, for set B prime, I shade it this way. The line is going to the bottom right hand corner, so that at least I can see that. You see, I can see that for this region over here, I can easily see that there is a overlapping region. Okay, so that is my tip for you when it comes to shading involving intersection. Okay, now for the last question, shade the set bracket A intersect B bracket prime. This question will be hard because there are 2 steps. Okay, the first step is that you have to try to imagine how does the region looks like. Okay, how does the region look like for A intersect B? After that, then you need to take the complement of that. Know what I'm trying to say? So basically what I'm trying to say is that there is this bracket sign over here. So as you understand, for bracket, you have to do everything inside the bracket first. Afterwards, then you do the outside. Remember? So over here, you need to visualize how does the region A intersect B looks like first. Then you take the complement of that. So when you see bracket, right, my tip is do everything that is inside the bracket first. So let's shade A intersect B first, which is over here. Okay, so this is the region A intersect B. Now we take the complement because there's a prime here. So the complement is everything outside this region over here. So this will be so I will be shading now the set of bracket A intersect B bracket prime. So this will be how I shade it. So this is how I shade the set bracket A intersect B bracket prime. Okay. Find the number of elements in the set bracket A intersect B bracket prime. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So end of the set A intersect B bracket bracket whole thing prime equals to 4 because there are 4 elements. Okay, and list the elements in the set bracket A intersect B bracket prime. So the set bracket A intersect B bracket prime, write down the curly braces, okay? And then list down the elements 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we are done. So that's all for the examples. I believe that all these examples would suffice to help you tackle your exam questions in the future. Okay, I believe that this list is exhaustive enough. Okay, so I hope that you will be able to understand after I've presented to you so many examples.